Howdy boys, it's MPC and today we're going to be doing a garage tour of my clubhouse, which contains all of my motorcycles. I'm a big fan of motorcycles in GTA. I know it's not for everyone, but I think Rockstar did a really good job in adding a ton of bikes, and of course there's a whole bikers update dedicated to motorcycles and drugs. And that was one of my favorite updates because that's when I played the game the most and I was just in love with all of the bikes. So before we hop into things, make sure you guys drop a like if you guys enjoyed because that would help this video get the attention that it deserves. And let's waste no time. I'm sure you guys already saw, but behind me was the Shiitsu Hachu drag, which used to be the fastest motorcycle in the game. It's so cool the way this is stanced. It's a drag motorcycle. The back wheel is placed super far behind so that the biker doesn't flip over or like over wheelie or anything. When they're leaning on the bike, the weight is more on the front end so that they don't fall backwards. But I went with the Rising Sun livery, and I made that black because I thought the red and black aesthetic fit the bike very well. It's a lot more aggressive than a red and white per se, and I just think it's a beautiful livery. I think the lines are all placed in a very unique way as opposed to just like standard stripes. For the rims, I painted them white because I thought the bike could use a little bit of brightness to it. I didn't want it to be overwhelmingly bloody, I guess you could say. But overall, red, black, and white is just a good color scheme. And the drag is one of my favorite bikes because I just think it handles so well. It looks really cool. And its performance always delivers, you know? You're never gonna have a bad performance riding this thing. This is my go-to for completing time trials. I love the drag so much. It's very reliable. And I think if you guys like bikes in GTA, you should grab one of these. Up next, we have the LCC Sanctus, which is the Halloween bike. I think this is probably one of my coolest customizations on a motorcycle. The Sanctus always comes around for Halloween and rises in popularity around that time. As you can see, it's got, you know, a rib cage, it's got a skull, it's got a spider web wheel covers, and I think it all looks really cool. I made the bones and the webs white, and then I went with a red body to sort of fit the like spooky scary theme. I was a little worried it was going to turn out too Christmas-like because red and white are like Christmas colors as well, but I think it looks really good. It definitely has a creepy feel to it. It's just a really pretty bike. I don't even think it handles all that terribly. The only thing is like getting it going is kind of a pain in the ass because there's so much wheel spin. It's like the muscle car of bikes. But once you get moving, I don't think it's a terrible driving experience. I like whipping this thing out. I definitely have had my fun with this thing on the road. Up next, we have the Pegassibati 801. I'm sure you guys all know this bike. It's been in the game for a very, very long time. I think since the release. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But it's a really reliable bike. It used to be the fastest bike for many, many years before the Bikers update. And is still incredibly reliable to this day. It's a beautiful looking sports bike, obviously being made by Lamborghini in the game, which is Pegassi. And my build for this is a bright orange with a surf blue secondary color, and for the rims I went with like a 3-pronged rim. If you guys can see that, it's covered up a little bit, but I went with the 3-prong rim and made that baby blue, I want to say, and then I white walled it. And my inspiration for this customization is from the Accelerator series. I'm not sure if any of you guys have watched that, if you're like into cars or anything. I'm 21 and this is a show that I watched when I was a kid. But basically there's this racing group called the Teku, and they have blue and orange and white as their like color themed, and the main character has a bike that looks sort of similar to this. I tried to base this off of a Teku bike, and I think it turned out pretty good. I made this customization a really, really long time ago when I first started playing GTA in like 2014 or 15, and I haven't changed it a single time, so I like the customization. I think the blue and orange fits very well. And maybe I'll get some hate for the white walls, but I think it suits this color scheme quite nicely. Up next, we have the Dinka Double T. Another pretty sporty looking bike. This one I have in a matte black and orange color scheme to kind of go with like a... There's this phase that Harmnet and I had where we did a whole bunch of like tiger aesthetic stuff. That's where this whole aesthetic came from, with the helmet and everything going for black and orange. My oppressor is also painted the same. There's also an insurgent painted the same. So it was kind of just a little phase that we went through where we were doing a whole bunch of tiger themed stuff. But the Double T I've always thought was a really cool bike. In my opinion, it's kind of like the little brother of the Bati. It's just a sporty looking bike. Its performance is a little bit worse. It's not nearly as reliable, but it's not bad. I think it's just a fun bike to drive around sometimes. It's very light and quite agile since it is so small. And then last up on this side is the Shotaro, which is the Tron bike. I'm sure you guys have all seen this bike. It got so much attention when it was first added into the game. Very cool vehicle. I love the lights on it. It's really fast as well. On a course with a lot of turns, this is probably the go-to bike. It has very good cornering ability. My biggest gripe with the bike is that I think the wheels don't actually turn. Those are like covers, and then you can see the actual wheel underneath the vehicle. Not from this angle so much, but when you're like flipping the vehicle and stuff in stunt races, then you can see where the actual tire is, and it's a little like, it breaks the immersion, but the Shotaro is still a very cool vehicle, very fast. Looks cool with the neon lights and everything. That's a super unique feature about this bike. I think the game mode that you play it into is quite fun as well. Rockstar definitely didn't disappoint when they added the Shotaro into the game. Up next, we have the Pegassi, which is, in my opinion, one of the cleanest looking bikes in the entire game. It's very hipster-like. I went with a salmon pink with an ice white pearlescent, and then this kind of, it's like a black stripe livery, but it's got a little bit of a white detail to it too. And then I did white wheels with, it's kind of got like this mesh design. And then the seat is really comfortable looking as well. I don't know how to describe it other than like hipster. I think hipster is the perfect word to capture this bike. It's very artistic. I think the bike is just really clean looking overall and is definitely something you would whip around in the city. Pink gives it a lot of personality. If I were to do another customization of it, I would probably design this after, I think Cole Sprouse has a bike that looks really similar to this, but it's all black and then it's got golden rims with sort of an endo 6-spoke style design to it, and it looks really cool. But I'm quite happy with the pink. I haven't recustomized this bike in like 5 years, so I think it's a really good customization. You know, it holds up for sure. It's not the fastest bike in the world, but it's a comfortable drive. You know, I guess it's like the XA21 of bikes. It's just chill, doesn't go overboard or anything. You shouldn't expect too much from it, but it will deliver. Up next, we have the Manchez, which is the newer dirt bike after the Sanchez, which is the really old one that I'm sure you guys have all seen. It's got the standard dirt bike look. This one's a little more of like a competitive racing kind of bike. And I went with a red, black, and white theme on this one as well. I think it's a good color scheme, and it matched the black livery that I have slapped on it as well with the black stripe. The Manchez is a pretty quick bike. It's not faster than the BF400, but the BF400 is just, it's so weird looking. You know, I wanted a dirt bike that was a little more standard, but performed better than the Sanchez, so that's where the Manchez comes into play. I don't think it sounds all that great. It's like my only issue with it, but other than that, no outstanding issues with the vehicle. I just wish it had a little more on the front end because I feel like it's a little barren up here. Up next, we have the Western Gargoyle, which is one of the sickest, most like metal bikes, I guess. Like, I don't know how else you would describe it. It's just a really hardcore. It's got these really thick, aggressive looking tires. The back one has a chain slapped onto it. It's so cool looking. When the Bikers update first dropped, the Gargoyle was my favorite bike because I just thought it looked so cool. Super menacing. Like, this is a biker motorcycle, you know, when you imagine some dudes about to like pull up on you, walk into a bar or something with like a leather jacket, it's gonna be on the Gargoyle. I wish there was a way to switch up the wheel design without changing the tires, but that's okay. I think it's kind of just like a monster. It's just such a beast of a bike, and while it doesn't perform the absolute best, it's got a pretty high top speed and it just looks really cool. It also says 69 on it. Up next, we have the Western Zombie Bobber. Now, this is a vehicle that didn't get a whole lot of attention because the Zombie Bobber was not, it's just a little bit more of a low-key bike. It's got high bars on it. It doesn't have outstanding performance or anything, but I think the bike is incredibly sexy. I love that the back wheel is exposed. There's no rear cover to it. I can't remember if that was a feature that you could change or not, but I really liked the design of the exposed wheel. Made it very sleek looking. And then I went with a metallic black with just like a pretty tame pearlescent. I think this is some sort of silver to keep it less bright, less shiny. And then I blacked out the rims as well to keep it consistent. It looks very good in my opinion, very gothic, of course, with that skull as well. And then with so much of the bike exposed, it's just got really nice curves and everything. And while its performance isn't the best, it's not outstanding or anything, I would probably say it's kind of like the Sanctus, but a little less wheel spin, makes the drive a little more consistent. but you shouldn't expect anything super crazy out of it either. It's kind of just there. The zombie bobber just exists. It's doing its own thing. That's okay. It's a cool bike in my opinion. I don't whip it out all that much just because I think if I have to summon a motorcycle from the MC menu, it's usually the drag just for convenience or the bati because they handle so well. But the zombie bobber for sure earns style points. And last, but definitely not least, we have the Pegassi Vortex. In my opinion, this is one of the coolest bikes I've ever customized. Maybe even customizations in general. I love the diversity of things that you can do, how you can make things not match but still work well together. The livery, as you guys can tell, is obviously not symmetrical. I think it looks really cool with the stripes all over the bike. A dark steel primary color and then a lime green secondary so that we could get highlights all over the car. I think the lime neon sort of brightness to it makes it seem like the bike is glowing almost. It's got a very aggressive like mask kind of in the front. It's a little owl-like. And then I love that the back tire is really thick and completely smooth as well. I think that's such a cool feature of this bike. The only real issue I have is that I haven't changed the back wheel color, but it's not completely noticeable. It's not something that I ever really acknowledge. I haven't tried out the stock wheel color glitch, which is something that I should probably do at some point to see if I can make that match. But other than that, the customization is just very aggressive and it's built to look sporty and unique. I would probably rate its performance in between that of the Bati and the Double T. It's a little worse than the Bati because the Bati is just super reliable. But I think in terms of like visuals, this one's it's just so cool. The Vortex is for sure one of my favorite bikes in the entire game. I love whipping this thing out. I think it looks absolutely amazing. A whole lot of stuff that you can do to this vehicle that I think makes it look, I don't know, I think something about this this front piece right here makes it seem like it's more than just a motorcycle, you know, it's like an animal. It's like some sort of beast. I don't know if maybe that's a cringe comparison, but I don't really care. It gives the bike a lot more personality and just makes it really cool looking overall. That's going to wrap it up for my motorcycle garage tour. Drop a like if you guys enjoyed the video, comment down below and let me know what your favorite bike was, and let me know what your guys' favorite bikes are. I don't hear a whole lot of talk about motorcycles in general, so I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. I'll have more garage tours coming out very soon, and that's about it. So take care, and I'll catch you boys in the next one. Peace!